What's going on, gamers? We got a huge post here by the Red Dragon. I agree with a lot of things he said, and this is what I've been saying before. And yeah, this is another topic when it comes to Microsoft and Xbox and what PlayStation is doing, how their message is clear. Now, Nintendo's message has always been clear and not anything else. And you want to know what that is? Nintendo said the day that Nintendo goes to PC or goes third party, it's the day Nintendo leaves the industry because they know how it works and they're not going to play that game. Now, when it comes to Xbox and when it comes to Microsoft and the PR mouthpieces, there's never really a clear message that's solidified for much long. It's just broken up and all over the place. Red Dragon says, here's my honest thoughts on exclusives with Xbox. And he's thinking the same thing I think. Their current strategy is not going to make any difference whatsoever. I 100% agree. I think by making Gears locked and doing Clockwork, the Clockwork's not going to move the needle at all. Gears will just do a little move, but it's going to fade off so fast because all those games coming out. They would have needed, like I said before, to drop the price of the hardware by $100 instantly and then have it on sale for $50 off from that price in the holidays. But they're not going to do that. Just saying, if Asha would have been brought in a lot sooner, wouldn't have mattered because Phil Spencer is still there behind her. This is politics. And had Xbox exclusives written on every game at the show, yeah, it would have made a much bigger impact. Okay, just right at this statement he just said, that's 100% correct. Because one thing that I think when I look at Xbox is that I see half-heartedness, not even. And I think the people that really dominate the world put their heart into everything. When you're at the top, it's either all or nothing. You know what I mean? It's like either the love is true or it's some mind game. You see what I mean? Because it's either all the way 100%, and it's like, yeah, you're all the way in, or you're just lost, you're split all over the place, going over here, going over that. That's what I said. It's kind of like it's mind games, and the mind is just trying to lead and it's lost. It doesn't know what it's doing, but it's not true love. You know what I mean? And you just don't see that with the Xbox brand because Microsoft doesn't love gaming, and you got a bunch of AI stuff there. Clear sign of no. So that's why you're seeing kind of this lukewarmness. Like you said, it would have made a much bigger impact if you would have just went all in with your strategy, but you know damn well they can't do that. And no matter what, you're still going to have Steam over there in the corner. It's not the 360 days where it's like, no, you ain't getting no Xbox games on Steam. No way. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not going to happen when you're winning. You only do this because you're not winning. Otherwise, why would you do that? Why would Apple ever be anything other than Apple? Why would Nvidia be anything other than Nvidia? Why would Google and YouTube be anything other than that? Why would Disney be anything other than Disney? Why would Nintendo be anything other than Nintendo? Right? Same thing with AMD. Same thing. You see what I'm saying? Same thing with PlayStation. Though they've tried it, but they realized what they need to do, but they made their strategy clear. But when you really think about who's always been at the top, and I've said this multiple times before, it's those with the strongest identities. Look at history. It'll tell you. Marvel, Warner Brothers dominating with Batman. You see what I mean? It was in that world and it was dominating everything. Harry Potter? Yeah, I think we kind of get the point, right? Instead, virtually the entire lineup is already announced for years that these games will show up on PlayStation. Because you're already saying, I can't do this without PlayStation. Because what is the strongest third-party growth in the industry historically? PlayStation. If you want to become a third-party publisher, who do you need then? Go to EA. Go to Rockstar. Go to Capcom, though they've grown on PC more, but I'm giving you an idea here. Go to Square Enix. Go to Konami. Go to Activision. Go to Ubisoft. Go to all of them and look historically, where do you get your strongest publishing growth at? PlayStation. So why would you not, if you're becoming a third-party publisher, which Microsoft is, they're just playing little nitpick games now, would you abandon PlayStation as a publisher? That's suicide as a publisher. I didn't say first party, I said publisher because that's where they're at. See? AGN is the one that's making you aware that you're not going to tell me that Steam has better publishing growth than PlayStation. Yeah, right. Not even close. PlayStation still wins on that easily. Everybody knows this. The biggest games historically sell the most. GTA is already making that quite clear. Or look at the revenue. PlayStation dominates everything third party. Besides Capcom, which has a bigger growth on PC now lately. But that's about it. And these are major games. So the toothpaste is already out of the tube. Like he was saying, all the major stuff is already on there. You're not getting a new next-gen Fable next year. You're going to get Call of Duty every year, but that's never going to be exclusive. You see, this year when Microsoft's dropping all those games, how are you going to keep repeating that yearly like that? Right? You don't have a Gears of War dropping again next year exclusive. Nah. It takes a long time till the next Gears is going to happen, till the next Halo is going to happen, meaning the real Halo. So, if Xbox truly wanted to dominate, yes, exclusives matter, of course. Look at the Nintendo world. Why do you think Sony's going back and doing that? Because they need PlayStation 6 to be successful. PlayStation is now 60% of the Sony company. Just saying, who won? Nintendo did. Then PlayStation. They won in two different brackets, but Nintendo won overall from a standpoint of, like, when I say Nintendo, I'm talking about publishing and development, software sales, and hardware sales. From the beginning all the way to the end. Not idle macro transaction vampire revenue. That's just having somebody else's stuff and doing that. And of course, you still help them grow because you have the install base and the people that want to support that. But when I speak those names, I said, speak to me in a publishing standpoint and in a development standpoint. I didn't say Rockstar. I said PlayStation Publishing and PlayStation Development. Nintendo Publishing, Nintendo Development. Xbox Publishing, Xbox Development. Valve Publishing, Valve Development. Not idle pirating and vampiring. Just, hey, right? Yeah, when you start playing that game, that's when you really realize the curtain falls. Let's see. Yeah. But picking and choosing doesn't make any difference. Agreed. It leads to constant guessing and frustration for fans. A banger here or there is easy to skip. Agreed. And you know what I mean? I can't disagree with this because, like he's saying, all you're doing with the fans now is they're just sitting there waiting. Well, what's going to happen next? I don't have a clear message. There's no clairvoyance. There's no clarity. It's just, once again, mind games. You're in the dark. It's all or nothing, 100%. If my goal was to make Xbox the #1 brand, I'd make every single game exclusive. But you need your hardware to sell to do that. Xbox consoles have to be, the Series X has to go back to $500. Those should be $450 right now, easily. The Series S has to go back to $299. Our PlayStations look like it has those prices. And then it needs to have 3 months of Game Pass in all of them. But then also, if you wanted to make everything Xbox exclusive, everything can't be day one on Game Pass. Then you're going to have to struggle with that. You see how they trap themselves? You can't be the #1 publisher if you make everything exclusive. And you can't make everything exclusive and have everything day one on Game Pass to get sales. And you can't do any of that if nobody's buying your hardware. It's too overpriced and nobody wants it because there's no reason to get one. You said that too. That's what I'm saying. They trapped themselves, including Call of Duty, everything. 10-year contract, another trap. That's the only way Xbox will make some major comeback. And it would take a lot of pain and burning money out of them to do that. But Satya wants his money back. You spent $70 billion on Activision. You lost $300 million on Game Pass. And you got a $250 lawsuit that you have to pay. So that's $550 million plus the $70 billion you spent. Only on that, you monopolized for Bethesda too and other stuff. We're getting into like the $85-90 billion. All the money you spent to try to get stuff day one on Game Pass as third party. All the smart delivery payments you did. How are you getting your money back? It's a dark sinkhole. You lost millions of Game Pass subscribers since you jacked up that price. And it would need to be a years-long campaign with full commitment. You have to build that again. You see, it's a risk no matter how you think about it. I'm telling you, the position that Asha's in, it's worse than the Don Matrix situation. Because it gets all the way to this situation now. It's like, damn. It is. The other option is just fully embrace third-party and have no exclusives. That's what you were doing. That's the easy solution and probably the right one for the company if your goal is to maximize profits and revenue. Which, what else can you do? That's the only way to be a strong publisher. If you want to be #1 in something, you have to be a #1 publisher. You're not going to be #1 in hardware. You can't outsell the Switch 1. You're not going to be the #1 developer. You're not good at doing that. Nintendo is the #1 developer. They always will be. Capcom's the #1 third-party developer. And Rockstar is going to be dropping and dominating as a third-party developer with GTA 6, but they don't drop as many games as Capcom. Capcom are better because they give you so much yearly consistently. They're just dropping a huge GTA 6, which is going to be one of the hugest games, probably the biggest game ever to ever drop. You know what I mean? It's going to be on multiple platforms for generations. So that's where Rockstar is one of the top developers, but I'm not going to put them above Capcom because they don't produce as many amazing experiences as Capcom consistently. They just drop a big game every once in a while. It's not the same. And Nintendo is doing it yearly for 4 decades. And running hardware, especially when they're losing money on consoles and next gen is going to be so expensive. If your goal is monthly active users, this is also the right path. PlayStation has made it super clear, and it's a solid strategy with exclusives. Multiplayer goes multi-platform. Single player stays exclusive. That is a clear path, 100%. But with Xbox, it's confusing. Matt Booty was like, oh, if it's a big multiplayer game, then it has to go multi-platform. But yeah, you locked gears there. You're already confusing people. And you never had amazing single-player games. And I heard Blade was actually canceled. We'll talk about that some other time. Some say Xbox should copy this strategy. They can't do that, though. The problem is Xbox isn't known for single-player games. Yeah, I mean, that's why you probably have Bethesda, right? But look at what's happening with them lately. It's been disappointing. Starfield was a flop. You put that on PlayStation and it didn't do much. Switch 2 version is probably not doing anything. So it's like you had to monopolize for Bethesda to make it seem like that. Otherwise, you were an online shooting console with Game Chat. Historically. It's true. Their best shot was something like Fable, assuming it's good. I hope so. Virtually everything else has been completely forgettable. It falls off, you forget about it, 100%. Do I think they'll make everything exclusive? Hell no. No, I don't think higher-ups are ready to bleed that much money after how much they want to get back. That's 100% true. So Red Dragon here actually has a good post that actually makes sense because it's like, this is just being realistic. But if I was Asha and my goal was to truly be number one in the console space, I'd apologize to my competitors and gamers and say we're pulling all of these games and everything releasing from today forward will only be playable on Xbox, but they can't do that because you don't have 50, 60 million series consoles that are sold with an install base that's alive, still moving and getting in PlayStation's face or trying to make them think that you can, but you're close. You can't, if you can't beat the Switch 1, there's no hope for you. I'm sorry. It's all or nothing. No one will buy an Xbox for Gears or Clockwork. Facts. Only like a few people that have already been there before. But it's not going to do anything insane because you have too much competition. This isn't the 360 era where you lined up for a midnight release for a huge game every once in a while. That stuff's happening now monthly. And with the way things are going in the holidays, weekly. They would buy an Xbox if that's the only way to play everything Xbox is publishing. But they can't do that if they know it's also going to be on Steam. Either way you look at it, you can't do that. What we now have is Phil 2.0. Phil Spencer's still there. No real strategy and complete confusion in switching up game plans as you throw everything at the wall without a solid, clear goal in mind. This is actually a really good post. I agree with him literally all the way from the beginning to the end of everything he typed. I want you guys to let me know what you think about this. Become a member. Leave a tip down below. Like, comment, subscribe. As usual, you know how this is. We're giving you deep analysis on things here and we're being realistic, not just being a low IQ fanboy that just wants to defend Xbox and gripped against PlayStation and Nintendo. Just saying. HL, Tensor does not have hardware, does not out themselves in there. Quietly funds, produces, and apparently, I think he means Tencent, and apparently is the biggest game company in the world. They do not have a single horse. They have all of them. Red Dragon says, true. It's why if I'm Microsoft, it makes more sense to just go third party at this point if you're not going to fully go after the console market. There's a third option, would be a regulatory nightmare, but they could acquire either Sony or Nintendo and be number one that way. Dude, shut up, you're a loser. Their current strategy is the same losing strategy from pre-2024. But hey, they now have a new logo now. Zubitech says, well said. See, still butthurt and has me blocked. Macro says, John on Digital Foundry said it doesn't make sense doing this on a console that's not selling exclusives. Should saved for next gen, and if he's right, Clockwork is not going to move consoles, and Gears is too old. It doesn't have the wow factor like it used to, and their Game Pass. Yeah, they're right though. That's why I said they're kind of like in a position where it's like, I don't know. This guy says, bro, you're putting way too much thought into this too early. She's only been in charge 100 days. Give her time and be quiet. Come back in 1 or 2 years to see how she strategizes the platform. Well, if you're intelligent enough, you can kind of see what she can do herself. and what options are available with the situation that you're in. You could barely even sell 2 million consoles last year, even then if you did. It's terrible. How are you going to turn that around? Like I said, I haven't seen a price drop on the Xbox consoles because they're not going to do it. It's not about hardware. It's about giving you an illusion that's never going to fully manifest as what you think it's going to be. And they have to keep doing this. Just PR. And she'll try certain things, but she doesn't know what she's doing like you think she does. I can promise you this. So it's just listening and hearing us complaining, and from people that already tried everything they've tried before, and everything they did didn't work. And just trying to look for a new crack to hope that can give you some light out of it. There's only so much you can really do with this, seriously. Like, it's not that hard to figure out. That's why AGN is laying out everything for you to give you the global perspective of, see all these angles? Now, what do you think they really can do? What is really left? We've already covered it all, right? That's why we have to keep coming after posts like this. So I want you guys to let me know what you think. As usual, leave a comment down below. Later, y'all. Keep on gaming no matter what platform you're on. Just saying, like, what else is there left? You are in the Sega situation. The only difference is that you have the Microsoft money pool. If you didn't have that, you would have been out the industry a long time ago. You would not even be able to play this game. And no games with the Game Pass will not exist. You're literally tanking off of a money pool that had nothing to do with gaming. Just saying.